Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about Josh Trank, which is he's a director that we really haven't heard from in a while, but he's actually releasing a film on May 12th that's going straight to video on demand, and that is Capone, which stars Tom Hardy as Al Capone. And the makeup and stuff for the movie actually looks good. I haven't really seen any trailers for it, but I mean, Tom Hardy's a good actor. It's an attractive property. It's a gangster thing, so I mean, there's not too many of those floating around right now because we're just coming off of Scorsese's The Irishman. So I feel like that's going to have a little bit of a corner on the market, but I don't expect that movie to do badly. I think that will actually do pretty well because I think everybody's kind of gotten over the middling point with Josh Trank, where the Fantastic Four and everything like that. But this is kind of what we're here to talk about because Polygon did an interview with Josh Trank, and Josh Trank proceeded to air some dirty laundry and clarify a couple of different things. Not totally clarify because of non-disclosure agreements that he has with Fox and Disney, but give us a little bit more insight and maybe allow us to speculate a bit more on certain circumstances surrounding him. Now, for those of you who don't know who Josh Trank is, he's a director. His first really big film was Chronicle, which starred a young Dane DeHaan, and I believe Michael B. Jordan, although I could be wrong about that. But basically, Dane DeHaan was kind of the main. He was the one that kind of came out of that and kind of skyrocketed a little bit into at least mediocrity, as opposed to being kind of a low budget person. Again, I can't remember if Michael B. Jordan's in it. I'm pretty sure he's not actually. Now that I think about it, but I'm going to look it up while I'm talking, so I'll update in a second. But basically, that was his first film. It was relatively successful, and that kind of springboarded him into Hollywood. He was kind of the hot new product for a little while. And then Fox locked him down to their next Fantastic Four movie, which is going to be a reboot after the two Tim Story films, Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Now, this this is kind of when Trank started to get into a point where his career started to spiral downward. And we get a little bit of an insight on kind of the end product of that Fantastic Four film because right before that film came out, Josh Trank tweeted that the film that they were getting was not the same film that he made, and that he had a better version of the film a year prior before extensive reshoots were done. Now, everybody knows that there was a lot of studio meddling in that film. The Like I said, the reshoots were very extensive, and it was one of those things where oh, it is Michael B. Jordan. Okay, so Michael B. Jordan came out of that as well. So there you go. There's that update. I was right the first time. But the thing is that basically how this happened at the end was that Josh Trank had done the initial cut of the film. They had filmed everything, and then he had come in and shown the first cut of the film to various Fox executives, and they had come back and basically said that they were uncomfortable with the way that the film was. Now, I don't know what film they were watching, but I don't think many people were very comfortable with the film that came out either. That thing was a piece of garbage. And so basically, after that, then the studio took it away from him. So they brought in people to rewrite parts of the script, rip things out. Apparently, they redid the. Apparently, the ending was not finished with this initial cut of the film, so they actually redid the ending before it was even completed. The original ending. So the film was almost restructured from top to bottom through these reshoots. And I think that maybe that might have also had an effect on some of the CGI and stuff in the film as well, because of the lateness of how the reshoots went, because of the extensiveness of it to try and meet the window they were trying to go to. But the thing is that after these reshoots were taking place, basically Trank was put in the back seat on the film and wasn't allowed to do anything. And he also stated that he went to the Directors Guild and said that his rights were being infringed on. And basically, they came to a deal with Fox that there would be two cuts of the film: Trank's cut and the cut that the studio would eventually have completed, and those would both go to test audiences as a way to be fair to Trank as a director because of his union rights. And basically, Fox just kind of buried his cut of the film. They probably did the screening, but then just ignored everything after that because they didn't care. And they then proceeded to release the film that actually came out in the public, which is why Trank, publicly detracted it on Twitter. So that was his first kind of bad taste with the studio system. He also sheds a little bit of light on the fact that they were trying to capitalize at that point on Chronicle 2. And basically, he kind of dodged the whole concept of Chronicle 2, which I thought was kind of, well, I don't think it's strange because, again, he's a young director. He wants to bounce around, do different things. But Chronicle 2, basically, they had Max Landis come back, who actually was part of the original writing team on the first Chronicle, to come back to write a new script. But Josh Trank just didn't want anything to do with the sequel, so he essentially dodged the studio, and he even admits that he did some pretty shitty things to just try to get out of doing the sequel, which I don't know if he was contractually obligated to do at the time. So that's a little bit unprofessional, but again, I can kind of understand it from that point of view. And then, of course, after that, then Fox would screw him over. And then you also have the stuff that he revealed about Disney and his time doing the Boba Fett movie. Because basically what happened with him is that he was brought in, he developed a pitch that he then pitched to Kathleen Kennedy, Alan Horn, and I think Bob Iger. And he had to do a pitch to them of his Boba Fett film. And he was hired on based on that pitch, but basically what happened is before principal production, before the actual photography began, Josh Trank said that he quit because he realized that he was going to be fired. And this is kind of another thing that leads into what we found out down the road, which was because at the time, really the only person that had been hired on for a directing role was, I think, Gareth Edwards for Rogue One and J.J. Abrams. And Gareth Edwards hadn't started filming Rogue One at the time. So, or either that or maybe he had just started or he was working on the scripting process. But J.J. Abrams was the only other person who had a film that was actually kind of in production at the time. So Disney hadn't really developed, or at least Lucasfilm hadn't really developed its habit of, rubbing directors and stuff the wrong way and kind of ripping through directors and losing them. This is before Trevorrow dropped out. This is before Last Jedi and everything we found out about Rian Johnson. This is before, the rush schedule and everything we knew about for Rise of Skywalker. And all the hellhole that was Solo. This is before, and also Gareth Edwards too, right? Before that, because they redid a lot of that film. Even though I like Rogue One, there was a lot of directing problems with that film. But this is before they had that reputation. So this is kind of something that flew under the radar that we didn't realize. But this is kind of the beginning of that, I think, where Josh Trank kind of knew that they were going to do the same thing that Fox was doing, which was kind of lean in on him way more than what they should, and give him the ability to kind of create a narrative, create a film, versus what they want to kind of force feed to the masses, that kind of generalization type of thing that they do with films to try and gestate it to as many people as possible. So Trank already saw that once with Fox, so he admits that he basically saw that with Disney, and that's why he decided to leave, because he knew that he would eventually be fired, and whatever he was trying to do would just be ripped to shreds and done however they wanted it done. So it gives a little bit of light on kind of the stuff that's going on, or the stuff that happened with Trank on those films, especially the stuff that happened with Fox, which we knew some of the extent of, but I don't think we knew exactly what went on with that film in terms of, just coming from the director's mouth, somebody that was firsthand there and saw everything happen and was a part of it. Again, he obviously couldn't go into excruciating details because of non-disclosure agreements and because he's still a working director in the film industry. I think that maybe years and years down the road, if Trank becomes very successful, he might come out about what actually happened with Fantastic Four in detail. But again, as of right now, he's kind of a director on the rebound with this new film that he's coming out with Capone. So this is kind of a stepping stone. So, it's kind of the idea where he's back where he was before the first Chronicle was successful. that was successful and that propelled him in. And then he got Fantastic Four and he got the job offer from Lucasfilm and he was kind of the hot new thing, commodity, and everybody wanted him. And then as soon as Fantastic Four came out and all this other stuff that was kind of rumored around the time, I think there was a substance abuse rumor going around with him at the time that I don't think was actually true. But there was a bunch of stuff going around with him at the time, and then he was basically on rock bottom. He was kind of blacklisted for a number of years until now he's doing this again. So this is kind of his chance to break back in and kind of establish a new foothold so that he can kind of keep going, keep making things. Now, I don't think he'll ever work for Disney / Fox again. I think he'll probably pedal around on some of the smaller studios, or maybe jump up into a Universal or a Warner Brothers or something like that. But I think he's a capable director. I've seen Chronicle. I unfortunately had to sit through Fan4stic, so I can't, even though I can't really comment on that. But I did like Chronicle, which is really his only true directing credit, I would consider at this point, based on these stories. So take what you want with a grain of salt, but I think this is something that sheds a bit of a more of a positive light on Josh Trank and how he's conducted himself and how his films have been in the past. And I think that he does deserve another chance in Hollywood. I think that he's a capable director, and I don't think he's a guy that necessarily, he's a guy that I think values the film goer. He's not like a Ryan Johnson, or somebody like that where they're just kind of almost trolling the audience. So he actually feels like he has some kind of a dedication to the people that are watching the films, especially because right before Fantastic Four came out, he basically said the film was a piece of shit on Twitter to everybody that was going to go see it before it came out. So I mean, I felt like he cared at least about the film goer. He cared that he in his mind that he let people down because he couldn't give them his actual vision of what he wanted for a film. So yeah, I think he deserves a second chance, and I hope this is a second chance for him. But this is kind of an interesting light on just some past things involving him. But like I said, put your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think. Do you like Josh Trank? Do you not like Josh Trank? Do you know about these this new interview that's come out, and the information from it? And what do you think about that? And do you like any of Josh Trank's films? Chronicle or Fantastic Four, or whatever. So, put your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?